This is where we've gotten every time, and this is where it gets killed. It's going to be DOA. It's going to pass the House potentially, and it's going to get DOA in the Senate.
Hey everyone, welcome to our latest Traded Black podcast. Thanks for checking in. I'm Shad Dales. Hope you had a really good week as we are in the middle of July, the summer doldrums. Cannabis still seems to be buzzing a little bit, especially stuff that's happening on Washington. What is some of that news? Let's bring in the gents. Benjamin A. Smith, lead financial writer. Hope you had a good week. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I had a really good week. Cannabis is buzzing. I don't know for all the right reasons, but we're going to get into that. But
Yeah.
good week otherwise.
Anthony Verrill, good to see you. How are things?
Great. I mean, cannabis is doing its thing. We're seeing it's yo-yoing again.
Yo-yoing.
So we can go over that when we get into the show.
So when you say yo-yo, break it down. Ben, I know you're good when it comes to explaining what's going on the latest in Washington pertaining to safe banking. So what's the latest twist? And here we go, right?
Yeah, the latest twist is basically the markup vote, which was basically presumed to be like a rubber stamp, like it was going to get through that and then go to the Senate, and then there would be some potential complications with Senate Democrats and Chuck Schumer in terms of adding amendments to the bill. But as it turns out, the markup vote may not be even happening because there's a disagreement about something called Section 10 of the bill, and that's the portion of the bill that prohibits a federal banking agency from requesting or ordering a depositor institution to terminate a specific bank account. So the Democrats want to eliminate that or gut that section, and the Republicans want to keep that section, right? So it is come to light that it may not have the 60 votes needed to potentially prevent a filibuster, and they don't want to get it out of committee necessarily if they don't have those votes. So there's a hang up there, and now the markup vote, which was assumed before, is kind of in the balance. So we'll see. I mean, it's another of the long list of hang ups that happen with safe banking, and nothing's ever certain in Washington.
Okay, so this Section 10, was this language that was recently added?
No. That's been in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be blunt. I sold my Curaleaf position. I also sold my MSOS calls. I booked the 50% gain on the options. I booked the 30% gain on the stock, and I'll be back in. I'm not going to fuck around. It's
probably not a bad move.
No. I'm not going to mess around here. I mean, we're at the mercy of the politicians, and it's already coming to be like they're at each other's throat, and they're already showing signs of discourse. I don't want to be around for that. That being said, I'm watching the tape closely. I'm looking for entry points to get back in. I'm looking for undervalued assets to get back in. If there's light, I'm probably going to take a stab at AYR.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they're beating the shit. They've shored up their balance sheet to a degree in the past 30 days. They're trading under their cash position. Their market cap's, I think, $70 million. I think it was 68 million when I looked at it the other day.
I still can't.
85. 85. The stock actually took that's still crazy. On a forward 12, their annualized revenue is $400 million, and they're fortifying their position in Florida. They're starting to come online in other markets, and to be honest, they were the most popular undervalued MSO in the Twitter poll that we did this week, which actually got me looking into them. So thank you to the audience. It's a great way to do diligence. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, Section 10.
Way.
The thing that sucks is right now is Section 10, which seems to be the sticking point. It's a non-starter if this gets descheduled anyway, because then the banks will have no reason to potentially shut down these accounts. So, I mean, it's just, we're back in the bullshit just with our tire spinning. And I mean, I think Jason Wild said it best. Like, I don't fucking care about safe banking. I'm building this business so it can run with or without it. We're making strides. I don't think that a lot of the other CEOs in the space have the liberty of doing that or have the liberty of saying that.
You really see, I'm beginning to learn, the companies that actually have a business strategy in place about running a fundamental business to turn profit, also branding and PR opportunities. There's a lot of companies I feel like in a lot of ways have a very much a Wall Street background, but don't understand this industry as a whole and are very reliant and dependent on this legislation movement. I don't want to get into details as to who those companies are, but
I could name a couple, but I'm not going
yeah,
to.
but it's just like, holy, like we're hearing like feedback as some companies are saying branding's overrated.
That's a lie.
What?
That's a lie. I would tell a CEO to his face that if a CEO from a cannabis company came and said branding is overrated, I would literally look him dead in the face and
Like
say, "Sir, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about."
crazy.
Like, it might not matter now. It might not matter now. You could argue right now in Florida, branding does not matter. It doesn't. The product is on the shelf. It sells. In California, in Oregon, in Washington, in Nevada, in Arizona, in these big keystone adult use markets, branding matters,
Yeah.
and
It's good to
the
see
numbers
anyway
will
that
prove that.
safe banking is really taking the forefront. We've been saying this on the podcast for a few months now, that safe banking is really takes a backseat to rescheduling, and I think that narrative is really starting to appear now. And as Anthony said, Jason
Good
Wild has
point,
said
man.
Yeah,
said that, and it's really good to hear that narrative, because really rescheduling to Schedule 3 or beyond makes safe banking obsolete. Cost of
yeah.
capital comes down. The uplisting issue is solved. Credit cards probably come in the space. So it's really redundant at this point. And I'm so sick of and tired of talking about politicians controlling the narrative. All it has to do is take a ruling from Becerra, and that ruling be that uptake of that ruling to be applied by the DEA and so forth, and we're off and rolling, right?
Did
So
you
that is the
see?
bigger catalyst.
Did you see the MJ Biz article yesterday where Biden administration actually requested data from adult use markets to do a study on the effectiveness of cannabis as a product, the effectiveness of cannabis as a therapeutic, and
Yeah.
the just the overall health of the industry. So I mean, if they're requesting data, they're doing studies on the data. I mean, as much as I don't like Biden, I don't agree with a lot of things that he does. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to throw a Hail Mary and do some sort of executive order descheduling. Granted, like we said last week, I think on the podcast, it can still get shot down by the DEA if that happens. But Biden placed the head of the DEA in that spot, and he has said multiple times that he's not anti-cannabis. So if Biden does something, like, forget safe, it doesn't matter. Ben
I don't
couldn't
know
have
if you
said it
caught
any
this
better.
too, Anthony. I don't know if you caught this too, Anthony, but in that, I kind of expected them to share data from other states that have programs. But I think 4 of the 5 states that they got the program sharing from were recreational
Yeah.
states as well. So
Yep.
that was my big note. Not that it was actually happening, that it came from adult use states of the 4 of the 5, I believe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
You brought up
Sabbath had an article today that was actually saying, which I don't believe this. I need to do some homework on it. But he said 1 out of 5 kids above the age of 12 have tried cannabis.
what?
Which, yeah,
What? Say that
yeah,
again.
1 out of 5 kids above the age of 12 have tried cannabis.
Wow.
I'm I'm not saying that's fact. No one please take that as me stating a fact. That is an article that he put. I think it was in CNN or in Time this morning. I was at the gym when I was just reading through it. I need to actually fact check it, but I'm hoping that fact is not true, because there's been studies upon studies upon studies that will say that cannabis being legal does not necessarily increase the usage rate amongst the population.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, here it is actually. It's on CNN. Nearly 1 in 5 Americans over 12 years old used cannabis in 2021,
Wow.
according to the
Wow.
Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. I need to I need to unpack that a lot more, go into the sample size, go into the actual data, but that is a pretty strong statement. And I mean, if there is gravity to that, I think there needs to be mechanisms and programs put in place that
I wonder
doesn't
what wonder
reoccur.
what the percentage is for teenagers when it comes to vaping. I see young
Oh, like
kids.
Nick,
It,
like Nick,
it
like so the problem with the
the
problem with
flavored nicotines. I
yeah,
see that everywhere amongst young people.
the problem with kids now, like under the age of 16, they're all on fucking caffeine. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're all drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Logan Paul is getting
Yeah,
a
saw that.
congressional inquiry about Prime because they're
Yep.
marketing it to kids with 250 milligrams of caffeine in it. Starbucks has kids hooked on caffeine. So, I mean, if you're going to go after Logan Paul, you sure as hell better be looking at Starbucks. But yeah, I mean, kids are on stimulants. Kids are on depressants. I mean, I was mortified of cannabis when I was in high school. Like,
you think this actually plays into what we had earlier this week at our podcast with Pat McCutcheon pertaining to the industry that he's in?
No.
Is that a stretch?
No, I think it's a stretch. I don't think, because I'd be hard pressed to find if decoconized coca actually, it's probably analogous to caffeine in many ways as a stimulant. Just thinking of the other use cases that it's used for. But yeah, I mean, it needs to change if kids are all hopped up on caffeine and trying cannabis. I mean, I didn't try cannabis until I was 18. I was like scared of it in high school. Like, just looking at it, I was like, I don't want to smoke pot. But apparently that paradigm's shifting.
Yeah, that's for sure. You guys brought up Jason Wild. Let's get into TerrAscend news. Ben, you wrote a really good piece earlier this week. Jason Wild, who revealed that following its TSX listing, Tier 1 U.S. investment bank Morgan Stanley removed the blocks placed on the stock, which is very encouraging, allowing it to be traded on their platform like any other U.S. stock. There have been rumblings about other big U.S. brokerages that may follow, hinted by Todd Harrison. So what kind of impact do you think this has on the company? And is this going to make an impact for U.S. MSOs as well?
I think it potentially has a really good impact, particularly with the trade that happens when there's legislative news on federal reform. Traditionally, some of those inflows have gone into stocks like Canopy and Tilray and Sundial, which really makes no sense because they're not really part of what safe banking would bring. So by TerrAscend being available on these platforms and being on the permissible list, now U.S. investors can buy them as well. And not only that, we're hearing actually rumblings that more platforms are to follow. Like I wrote we sent a tweet a few days ago that JP Morgan actually delisted all their U.S. cannabis holding stocks and put them on the restricted list in November of 2021, and citing that no stocks other than trading on the big board exchanges and the TSX would be permissible. So now that they're trading there, they might be next to come off as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, so it all comes down to like, will U.S. Customers have Canadian dollars in their account to be able to buy it, or will they hold off because it's a Canadian stock? But the fact that they're there available to trade, I think could send some inflows their way to TerrAscend.
Yeah. Still think something's up. People, everything's other than this Section 10 drama. I just feel like there's something up.
The Section 10 drama is a big fucking deal. This is where we've gotten every time, and this is where it gets killed. It's going to be DOA. It's going to pass the House potentially, and it's going to get DOA in the Senate again, which we can't. I'm watching the same movie that we've been watching for the past couple of years right now.
Well, I don't know what was going on years ago, but all I've heard is that Chuck Schumer is very warm to the idea of getting this to pass. What that entails, and people might just roll their eyes based off of this, but that's what we're seeing and hearing.
You could pull episodes of this show from a year ago, and where we're having the same conversation about Chuck Schumer.
I'm not getting anywhere with this, am I?
In December, I mean, Ben will agree with me. In November or December of last year, we were having the same conversation about Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, we were always skeptical, and we were always, it's always a different issue though. Now it's Section 10. Before it was Mitch McConnell and the NDAA. Yeah. There's always there's never like a clear path or clear trajectory to a political process here. There's always something along the way. Now it's in committee and doing the Section 10 thing. It's unbelievable, really, but it is what it is. And that's why, the rescheduling room for Becerra, it's just his department making a ruling. It's not Dems versus Republicans. It's one agency making a ruling and then issuing their recommendation to the DEA, right? So that's why I'm more excited about that, because there's no political wrangling here. There might be after the process of the recommendation, you could see some political wrangling. That's probably where the biggest war lies, but if rescheduling is recommended, but at least it's just one guy and one agency making that recommendation, right? So
yeah. I'll get in a little bit later. Canopy, they fell sharply on Friday. Another jeepers. This is pretty new, like Canopy Growth podcast. Thoughts on it all?
It's just another dilutive event. Like
I
that's
know.
basically what it comes down to. And it's probably coming. It's obviously coming at the worst time with the stock
Worse.
in true penny territory. So
I mean,
Yeah.
the stock is down 37% right now on 73 million shares of volume.
Wow. All
That's
right. You
yeah.
touched on earlier doing a Twitter poll about learning about air. We had a Twitter Spaces earlier this week and learned about a very well kept secret psychedelic company, GH Research, and didn't know this is the largest market cap company in the space right now. But a lot of information that we learned. But speaking of the space, we've got one company that has a lot of interest amongst investors. And again, this company is actually a client of ours. I have a position in this company, Numinus. They release their financial results, latest quarterly results coming up next week for the quarter ending May 31st after market close on Monday, July the 17th. So this stock, it's performed well since the MAPS conference dating back last month in Denver. What do you guys, is there much to watch here in this earnings, knowing that we're still before companies are earning actual revenue to really look for as far as this report, Ben?
I don't think you can really glean too much from this report. Obviously, like any other biotech or biotech ancillary companies, it's losing money, and it will lose money. I think the biggest thing to look for is the cash loss and whether they stemmed the cash
Bingo.
loss on their balance sheet, because they have 19.8 million. That declined from about 26.4 million, if memory serves, from the previous quarter. So that was almost a $7 million cash loss. I believe the company projected that they have an internal projections of wanting to lose 1 million per month, so $3 million in the quarter. So that it's been
Get that
above
burn
that.
rate under control.
Yeah, so it's all about the
That's
burn
all that
rate for
matters.
me.
Yeah.
It's not about revenues. The revenues might be plus or minus 5%, but it's really about the burn rate and burn control.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that's what the market wants to see.
Stocks
Yeah.
perform well recently though, right?
It's
Is
fairly
it just
well.
based on this, readouts potentially of MDMA is what you're thinking? Like, is this a sell-on news event if MAPS does have really compelling data from their phase 3 readouts?
No.
No?
No, I don't think it is for the company, but I mean, if you could also argue that Numinus has underperformed its peers greatly within the past month. I mean, you had Cybin go
Good
peak to
point.
trough. You had Cybin go peak to trough 100%, from 25 to
Ivan
50
mindset
cents.
have all ripped.
Cybin, MindMed, Mindset, Atai, Compass, they're all up on
Moving.
volume. The main differentiator, with the exception of Mindset, is those are all on major exchanges
Yep.
in the US, NASDAQ. But yes, I mean, I would say Numinus. I'm looking forward to the earnings coming out on Monday. I'm a shareholder as well. However, I mean, I don't think there's much to look for. Ben's right. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a function of, is the burn under control? Has the burn been minimized? I'm looking to see if they spin off any of their other business units that don't have to do with the clinic business, and if they foreshadow any progress as far as their relationship getting any deeper with MAPS. If we see any of those data points, then I think that's going to be a very positive event for the stock.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be interviewing Peyton Nyquist on Tuesday of this week. So if there's any questions or comments that you want us to ask Peyton, leave a comment below, and we'd be more than happy to address those questions with him on our podcast with him on Tuesday. But I think ultimately, burn rate and NASDAQ aspirations as far as, do they plan? I think that, yes, they've kind of hinted that they do want to list on the NASDAQ. But what that timeline looks like would be nice to know or find out more about that.
Logic would tell you that that they're going to get on NASDAQ sooner or later. I mean, all of the other companies are on NASDAQ. You've got LSDI that bought Wisana, you've got GH, you've got Cybin, you've got they're all major US exchanges. I mean, Numinus should be able at some point in time to uplist. I don't think it's as opaque as what you see with cannabis operators.
Yeah. Particularly with biotech stocks, they have less requirements in terms of revenue requirements and other things that normal companies do. So
good point.
They should be eligible, I think, and they have a revenue profile to begin with. So we'll see what happens.
All right, gents. Nice and quick and easy here this week. Good stuff. I think there's a lot of moving parts that we're going to be discussing next week. So we'll make sure we have a lot of podcasts up running and latest breaking news for next week. In the meantime, have yourself a great rest of your weekend. And as for you two as well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And let's check in early next week.
Sounds good. We can go over Mr. Gensler. He is losing the battle for crypto. And it
losing the battle for crypto. Actually, we got to bring that up before we go. Whoa. Last thing, give me an update on your take on how everything is unfolding.
So yesterday, a federal judge deemed XRP not a security. And for those that don't know, XRP is the cryptocurrency that got targeted by the SEC and the DOJ, subpoenaed by the SEC and the DOJ, and delisted by a ton of different exchanges. XRP is a fintech token. I mean, it is one of the ones that is their go-to-market strategy is to replace Swift. It's to be a settlement token. It's to be a payment rails. I firmly believe that the DOJ targeted them because they wanted to look under the hood for what they would lay as the framework goes for what a CBDC would look like, or a Fed coin. Yeah, or a Fed coin would look like. It would make sense. They were one of the most sophisticated from a TPS perspective, or transactions per second, which is what limits a lot of the cryptos from becoming payment rails or being able to compete with what like MasterCard and Visa have network wise. So this ruling was massive. They deemed that the sale of it through an exchange, they deemed the sale of it through an exchange did not deem it a security or an offering, which is also huge. So Coinbase, which I actually traded, I bought calls on. I couldn't buy XRP when the announcement dropped yesterday, so I bought calls on Coinbase. Coinbase went up 32% as of this morning. XRP was up 90% at the high yesterday. But altcoins rallied, Ethereum rallied, Bitcoin rallied. If XRP is not a security, then 99% of the cryptocurrencies out there or tokens are not securities. Granted, I think you're going to see Gensler and the SEC challenge this to some degree, but as far as this ruling goes, he's losing his precedent. He's losing his footing by the day to deem crypto a security, which then completely diminishes their precedent for going after Coinbase from a legal proceeding. So, I mean, you could easily see that Coinbase lawsuit thrown out or settled here very shortly, which bodes very, very well for the sector. Everybody is like, yeah, everyone's like, we're back pretty much, which that's not the case.
This is a monumental moment for the industry, is it not?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, everything in tandem lifted. Like Ethereum went from sub 1900 to straight over 2K within like 15 minutes of the announcement. It's going to create momentum in the sector. It bodes well for the sector, as there was a lot of beat down altcoins that were waiting for this proceeding to come out. And if Gensler loses the lawsuit against Coinbase, I don't really know where they're going to go moving forward. I think you're going to see him kind of go into just start to retract, and he's going to lose his footing completely. It's huge, though. I mean, it's big, momentous news for the sector.
Maybe he does what Don Rickles tells a lot of people. Why don't you just go away and live on the side of a mountain with a horse?
It'd be nice. He's public enemy number one as far as crypto goes.
Meanwhile, European regulators improved into a Bitcoin ETF. So it's happening. It's happening everywhere.
They did, but if you really dig into the MiCA framework that they're passing in the EU, which we could have probably an entire episode on that, it's pretty restrictive at face value. But the fact that they are letting a Bitcoin ETF onto the market is very, very bullish for everybody else.
Yeah. Development of an industry. All right, guys, again, appreciate the update on the crypto side. We got to dive into this more next week when we have more news pertaining to that. But listen, again, appreciate the time, and let's check back in early next week.
Awesome. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everyone. So what'd you think of the interview? Did you like what we asked? Is there any information you want to learn more of? Then leave a comment below and let us know what you think. As usual, share this video with your network, smash that like button, and most importantly, make sure to subscribe to our channel because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.